Hello and welcome to FIO-RI-VIEWS, the show where we take a look at movies, games, and shows. I'm your host, Fiori Sakai. Today, we're going to be looking at the movie Blade, released in 1998, starring Wesley Snipes as the badass vampire killing daywalker, Blade. Now, this movie has had a somewhat recent ish resurgence because of all the Marvel movies, and finally, in 2019, Marvel announced a reboot set in the MCU which as of now has been in development hell with a potential to recreate the disaster that was Blade Trinity. But, anyways, we're here to talk about Blade 1998, and while it's loved by many nowadays, it's still a film with some flaws. However, upon rewatching it again recently, I realized what makes this movie so unique, and only Shang-Chi has done what this movie did in the realm of comic book movies. Now, to recap, the movie is about a human vampire hybrid named Blade, and he has superpowers which include a healing factor, being able to tank a lot of damage, super strength, and most importantly, Kung Fu. Yeah, that's right. Blade is an absolute badass when it comes to combat, and while he does use guns and a special sword, most of his ass kicking is with his fists, and also kicking people in the nuts over and over again. And honestly, that's what really makes this movie special because at its core, Blade 1998 is just a kung fu movie. Now I know what you're thinking. Just because the main fighting style in this movie is over the top kung fu doesn't make it a kung fu movie. And you're right, it doesn't. But let's look at this movie's characters and plot points. First, we have Blade, the main hero who goes on a journey of self discovery and acceptance, finding out what happened to his mother and accepting his vampirism by the end of the movie. Then we have Whistler, Blade's long white haired and bearded mentor slash father figure, who is later assassinated by the main villain, leading to a roaring rampage of revenge by the main hero. As for the villains, they're an ancient, supernatural, evil organization that gets taken over by a young main villain who is tired of the complacent old guard and wants to take over the world by unsealing mystical powers, and is an antithesis of our hero, and is also an even match against him in a fight. And with all the vampire powers and gadgets to hunt them down, it brings to mind the amazing 1985 Hong Kong movie Mr. Vampire, which was about a kung fu master that dealt with the supernatural. So yeah, Blade is a kung fu movie, and it's awesome. The fight scenes are also super well done. None of those crazy jump cuts every 2 seconds or shaky cam. We are treated to pretty long shots of fights, and even if there's cuts, it's nothing too egregious or frequent. One of the biggest reasons why is because lead actor Wesley Snipes has been training in martial arts since he was 12, has a few black belts, and knows a bunch of styles. In other words, he's a certified badass. But there's more to that than makes this a great kung fu movie. His acting in this is actually really good. It's not a dramatic movie by any means, and it's not a comedy either. It's a movie that takes itself serious enough and knows it's a comic book movie, so there's room for it to breathe and it balances everything out. And my god, does Wesley Snipes find the perfect balance of being a stoic badass and down to earth jerk. There's so many moments where he injects personality into Blade. He's also a bit of a dork. Like someone trying his hardest to be cool, and we can see that with his completely random but also amazing fist pump after nailing a vampire with his bolt gun. And of course, the best one liner ever.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
It makes no sense, in or out of context, and just feels like someone realized they had a perfect chance for a one liner, blanked out, and made up something on the spot trying to sound cool. And it's amazing. And on that note, that's Blade 1998, a really solid kung fu movie that just so happened to be based on the comic book hero Blade. It's full of late 90s cheese, over the top action, and a killer performance by Wesley Snipes. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. However, I did mention this movie does have some flaws. The pacing of the movie is alright up until the 1 hour and 20-minute mark. From there, the movie really drags, and the next 26 minutes is brutal. Lots of standing around, talking, setting things up, just a complete waste of time, and a huge detriment to the film as a whole. But once you get past that, we go into overdrive with one of the best climaxes ever. Just Blade busting out the kung fu on everyone as techno is blasting. So, I say watch the movie, fast forward or skip those 26 dreadful minutes, and enjoy the finale. And with that said, let me know in the comments if you've ever seen this movie before and what you thought about it. I'm curious to know if I'm the only person who couldn't stand all that padding near the end. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm your host, Fiori Sakai, signing off. See you next time.